What does it mean to be pair? To be a pair. How many are in a pair? 2. Good. All these are going to come in twos. The first one, vertical angles. 2 angles whose sides are opposite rays. Okay. Opposite rays goes back to like one of the first sections. What does it mean to be an opposite ray? There's 2 parts you had to remember. Yep, they share an endpoint. Brady? And it forms a line. Good. Opposite rays will share an endpoint, and then they form a line. So I have this endpoint right here. And then I have a ray that's going over and to the right. Its opposite buddy has to form a line with it. So it would go down to the left. With me so far? Okay. Here I have another ray. Endpoint down to the right. The black ray and the purple ray make up what angle? 3, okay? Opposite of the purple one, starting at the endpoint and going in the opposite direction, is this periwinkle ray. Okay. What angle is made up of the periwinkle and gray? 2. Those are the opposite angles. Or not opposite, vertical, excuse me. Angle 2 and angle 3 would be a pair of vertical angles. Their sides are formed by opposite rays. Purple to purple, opposite. Black to gray, opposite. But those 2 sides make vertical angles then. You have another pair here. Yep, periwinkle to black and gray to purple are pairs of opposite rays which make up vertical angles then. The hint there is to look for intersecting lines. Why would I look for intersecting lines when the vertical angles are made up of opposite rays? Because opposite rays make, and they form a what? Straight line. Okay, so when you're trying to find vertical angles, you're trying to find the intersecting lines. I have 8 angles there. Can anyone give me a pair of vertical angles in that picture? Morgan? 7 and 3. Here's 7. Here's 3. If I look at the lines that intersect, here's one line, and then here's another line. Are 7 and 3 formed by the opposite rays that make those lines? Yeah. Another pair? Dawson? 6 and 2. Do you guys agree with them? That 6 would be vertical to 2. And you can check by finding those intersecting lines. Here's a line that intersects another line. Yes, angle 6 is between green and yellow, just like angle 2 is. Those would be vertical angles. Do I have any other pair? I don't think so, because is this ray, is this is just a ray, isn't it? Okay, if it's not a line, it can't create a vertical angle then. It doesn't extend that way. How about this part here? That's just a ray, so I can't create another vertical angle coming from it. 8. No, it wouldn't work because the green one would be the other half, and I don't have it. Okay, so you got 2 pairs in there. Sometimes there's only 1 pair, sometimes there's 8 pairs. It just depends on the intersecting lines. The other pair of angles that are new to us are called adjacent angles. These are 2 coplanar angles, meaning they're on the same plane, with a common side, a common vertex, and no common interior points. Common side and common vertex is a different way of saying that they share a ray. Common side and common vertex, because an angle is formed by a vertex and a side. That's one whole ray. So instead of saying share a vertex and a side, we can just say they share a whole ray. No common interior points. This is referring to that they don't overlap. Angles don't overlap. No interior points is another way of saying that the angles don't overlap. Adjacent, to say it nicely, means next to. Adjacent angles share a ray. They don't overlap. They are next to each other. So in your diagram below your definition, you have angle 3 and angle 4. They're not overlapping. They share this vertex and this common side, which we would call a ray. They're next to each other. Adjacent, right next to each other. They have to share a ray. You also have a different picture there of angle 1 and angle 2. Angle 1 and angle 2 form that straight line. They share the ray that's dividing them. They're next to each other. Those are adjacent angles. If I go down to this diagram that I just made up. You can give me a pair of adjacent angles down here. A pair of adjacent angles in that diagram. Angles that are next to each other. Angles that share a ray. Shy? 4 and 5. Good. Angle 4 is adjacent to angle 5. They are next to each other. They don't overlap. And they share this ray right here. What's another pair of adjacent angles? Dawson? Angle 7 and angle 6. Good. Next to each other. Share a ray. They don't overlap. Kylie? Sorry. I'm sorry, JC. Kylie, I'll come back to you. 3 and 2? Okay. Do you guys agree? Angle 3 would have to be adjacent to angle 2? Next to each other? Share a ray? Are you waving? Okay. Kylie, do you have a pair? 1 and 8, is 1 adjacent to 8? Sure, they share this horizontal ray. Those are adjacent angles next to each other. How about 7 and 5? Would 7 be adjacent to 5? No, why not? They're not next to each other. 6 is between them. There's a gap between them. They have to be right next to each other. All right. Okay, so those ones should be new, but hopefully you understand them now. These two should be reviewed. Complementary angles versus supplementary angles. Complementary angles, two angles whose measures have a sum of 90. Sum of 90, what does it mean to have a sum of 90? Equals 90, but what does sum mean? Good, adds up to. Two angles that add up to 90 degrees are complementary angles. I would say one is a complement of the other one. So if one's 40 and one's 50, 40 is a complement of 50. They add up to 90 degrees. Like there. These are complementary. How do we know that angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary? Sarah? Yeah, because it has the right angle symbol, and what does it mean to be a right angle? 90 degrees. So angle 1 and 2 would have to add up to 90. 1 and 2 are next to each other, so we would call them adjacent angles. But 40 and 50, they're not adjacent. You can still be complementary. So complementary angles can be adjacent or non-adjacent. They don't have to be next to each other. They just have to add up to 90 degrees. Supplementary angles, two angles who have a sum of what? 180. This time they're going to add up to 180 degrees. It is a supplement of the other one. 3 is a supplement of 4. How do I know these two angles are supplementary? Yeah, they form a straight angle. They form a straight line. Are angles 3 and 4 adjacent or non-adjacent? They're adjacent. Angle 3 is adjacent to angle 4 because they share a ray. They're next to each other. Is 75 supplementary to 105? Why? They add up to 180, right? Would we say that these are adjacent or non-adjacent? Non-adjacent. They don't share a ray. They're not really next to each other. Okay, 2 ways you can remember this if you don't already know it. Complementary angles sometimes form a corner. Corner and complementary start with C, and a corner is 90 degrees if you have a good construction worker, right? Okay. Supplementary angles form a straight line. Supplementary straight start with S, so supplementary have to add up to 180 because straight lines are 180. That was one that I learned last year. The way that I always remembered it, and still do sometimes. Alphabet. Number line. Complementary starts with C. Complementary means to add up to 90. Supplementary starts with S, and supplementary means to add up to 180. See how C comes before S in the alphabet? And 90 comes before 180 in a number line? If you line them up, complementary and 90 go together, supplementary and 180 go together. So isn't that awesome, Riley? Yeah, good. All right. So there's 2 different ways to remember it if you didn't already know it, but it should be a review for those 2. Okay, let's go to our first example. In the diagram, identify pairs of numbered angles that are related. So for part A, I'm trying to find a pair, 2 angles that are complementary. What does it mean to be complementary again? Just have one 90-degree angle? The sum is 90, right? The sum of how many? 2. Good. I need to find 2 angles that would add up to 90 degrees in that diagram. Sarah? Good. Angle 3 and angle 4. Because we know that angle 5 is 90. And then Tyler, wouldn't the rest of this have to be 90? Because together all 3 of those make a straight line? Good. So we would say that angle 3 and angle 4 are complements. Okay, for part B, I have to find a pair of supplementary angles. Jacob? 1 and 2, why would you say that angle 1 plus angle 2 equals 180? Good, because it makes a straight line. Any other supplementary pairs? Morgan? Good, angle 2 plus angle 3, they would form this straight line going that way. Do I have any other pairs that add up to 180? Wouldn't 1, 5, and 4 make a 180? But is that a pair? So then we're not going to list it. Okay. C, find a pair of vertical angles. Remember the vertical angles? Those are made by those intersecting lines. So when you try and find vertical angles, you're trying to find the intersecting lines. 1 and 3. 1, 3. Yeah. And if you want to, on your notes especially, highlight the intersecting lines. This whole line intersects with this whole line. Do those intersecting lines form angles then? Yeah, right here, 1 and 3. Whoops, can't read with that there. I wouldn't highlight that ray going down because it's a ray. Vertical angles are formed by lines, not rays. All right. D, we have to find adjacent angle pairs. Sarah, you got one? Angles 3 and 4, is that what you said? Are those the only adjacent angles? No, Rashid, do you have a different pair of adjacent angles? 5 and 4, good. Sydney, do you have a different pair? Good, angle 1 and angle 2. Dylan. Angle 5 and angle 1 would be adjacent. They are next to each other. They share this ray. And 2 and 3, good. You don't have to list them all, but I just wanted to go through them all. Adjacent, next to each other, share a ray. All right, number 5. Making conclusions from the diagram. So we have this like triangle thing with an extended ray, and then we have a bunch of markings in there. These little hash marks mean what? Yeah, the segments are congruent. What's it mean for segments to be congruent? They're the same length. Good. These little things here, it'd be like the curves that you see in the textbook, but sometimes I just put a line through the angle with a hash mark. What do you think those ones mean? They're also congruent. So there's a couple different ways you can mark congruent angles, usually with the curves, but sometimes with the little hash marks. We're going to see if these statements can be concluded, if it's a true or false one. Can we say that angle A is congruent to angle C when we look at this? Why? What do you see that makes them congruent? Yeah, they're marked congruent. Would it be true to say that angle B, this guy here in green, and angle ACD, the other green angle, are supplementary? Why would you say they're supplementary? Does this angle here make a straight line with this one? To make a straight line, they have to be connected. Are they connected? No. So can I say that they're supplementary? No. There's not enough information here. I don't even know the angle measures, but I wouldn't say these two green ones make a straight line. They have to be right next to each other to do that. Okay. Third one here, part C. The measure of angle BCA, so that'd be this guy, plus the measure of angle DCA, that'd be this guy, equal 180. Can I conclude that those two black angles would add up to 180? Why, Mason? The ones in black? This one here and this one. How do you know they add up to 180? You do not know? Colleen? Yeah, because these two make a straight line. Because when I go from like start to finish, I don't have to pick up my pencil to go to the next angle. On those green ones, I had this angle and this angle. To get from here to here, I have to pick up my pencil, so they wouldn't create a line. That makes sense? What's that called? Contour drawing in art, when you don't pick up your pencil? No? Okay. It is? I don't know. Okay. D, can you conclude that AB is congruent to BC? Because why? Yeah, because it's marked on there for us. Get familiar with the markings and how to read them. You yourself will have to mark pictures in the future. Okay, we're going to go to number 9 because we did those other ones in class last week. Number 9 says to name an angle or angles that would be supplementary to the given angle. So for part A, we have to find an angle that's supplementary to angle DOA. You have to remember what it means to be supplementary before you can even find the guy that goes with them. Nick, supplementary, add up to 90 or 180. Okay, so am I looking for a corner or a straight line? What other angle with DOA makes a straight line? you say EOC? Okay. So if I connect angle AOD and EOC, will those two together make a straight line? Didn't EOC make its own straight line? Okay. I need to find an angle with that guy. Like I could connect them and make a line. Would that one make a line? What angle is that? Okay, does that make sense? How I can go from start to finish and create that line then? Okay, good. So angle AOB would be supplementary to DOA. I don't think there's any other ones. No. Okay. So to B, we have to find a supplement to EOB. Right. Trying to create that straight line. If you have to, pick out the line on the picture. Is OA a line? No. Is DB a line? Okay, so I'm going to highlight that line. And I want to find another angle that will complete my curve with the red one to get me back to the other side of the blue line. Clean? DOE. DOE would connect that angle and I could create that blue line. So angle DOE is supplementary to EOB. Is that the only straight line in this picture? No. I have EOC, or EC, excuse me, line EC. Which angle with EOB is going to create that yellow line? BOC, this guy over here. So this one has two supplements, DOE and BOC. Yes. Okay, number 10. Can we conclude this? Can you conclude on 10 part A that angle 1 is congruent to angle 3? Yes, Sid? Why? Yeah, because they marked it for us. Those are congruent markings. So I know that 1 is congruent to 3 because it's marked. See how on this one it says explain? Say, yes, it's marked. That's your explanation. It was marked for us that they're congruent. That's how we knew. Part B. Can we conclude that angle 4 and angle 5 are supplementary angles? Why? Because they make a straight line, and straight lines are how many degrees? The angles form a straight line. Here's my explanation. The angles form a straight line. They make a straight line. C. Can we conclude that the measure of angle 1 and the measure of angle 5 would add up to 180 degrees? Why? How'd you know they were supplementary? Good. Yes. Angles are supplementary since they form or make a line. Last one, number 11, there's 4 parts to it. Well, actually 2 parts to each part, so there's like 8 parts to it. You have to find the complement and the supplement of each of these angles. So angle A, 30 degrees. I want to find its complement. What does it mean for 2 angles to be complementary? To be complementary? 90 degrees. So if angle A is 30, how am I going to find its complement? How, not what is it, how am I going to find it? Subtract, right? Take 90 minus the given angle, and 90 minus 30 is? All right. I have to find its supplement, which means they're going to add up to? So how am I going to find its supplement? 180 minus 30, which is 50. Okay, find the next three.
Reynolds, Diane Halbert Mahone, Katie Wright,